This chapter is about monopolistic competition, and in this chapter, we explore characteristics in a market that has monopolistic competitive structure, the maximization of profits in the short run and the long run, how efficiency could exist in this market, and some marketing strategies. Okay, so just a reminder, in microeconomics and in looking at markets and what type of market that we are looking at in terms of the structure of the market by looking at number of firms, market price setting power, barrier to entry, and so on. So, market structure under what we have just said could have these 5 settings: perfectly competitive market, monopolistic competition or monopolistic competitive market, then oligopoly market, and monopoly. So here we have a very high number of firms, and here we have high number of firms, but less than competitive market. Oligopoly market, we have low number of firms. And duopoly, only 2 firms competing in one market. And monopoly is a unique firm controlling the whole market. And what we are interested in this chapter is monopolistic competition, the characteristic of this market and how profits are maximized and so on. And here we have definition of this market. So a market structure in which barriers to entry are low, which means many firms could get into this market or even to get out from the market easily. And products offered in this market are similar but not perfectly identical. This means consumers can make some difference. Another characteristic of this market, which is a monopolistic market, is that the demand curve is downward sloping or negative slope, which means that consumers buy less at higher prices and they buy more at lower prices. So the demand curve in a monopolistic competitive market is different than demand curve in perfectly competitive market, as we saw when we studied perfectly competitive market. The demand there was flat. So the demand curve here was flat because each firm has no control on the market price. So the market price is given to them, so they are price takers. So if you remember, if the price is $4, that means they have no control in changing this price. Unlike in the monopolistic competitive market, the demand curve is downward curve like this, here price and quantity. So this means that firms have some control on market price and they can set some different price than the market because, as we said, that the products they offer is almost similar but not identical. So they can convince some consumers of the attributes of their products that they offer. That's why they could put some different prices. And in this case, market demand curve is downward sloping curve. So this is the shape of the demand curve. One note as well. And the note is, in perfectly competitive market, the demand curve here equals price equals marginal revenue. This is in this market, which is perfectly competitive market. But the situation is going to be different here in monopolistic competitive market, and this is what we are going to explain later. So here we want to also to show why the price is different than marginal revenue, unlike the situation in perfectly competitive market. So here the price in monopolistic competitive market, the price differs. So the price differs because consumers will buy less when market price is high, and this what this firm is facing in monopolistic competition. As the firm reduces price, the quantity demanded will increase. So when price decreases, more quantity will be consumed. So at price which is high, $6, nobody consume. So quantity demand is zero. And when the price is so low, $1, the quantity is at highest. So this is the quantity demanded. So this is what explains the downward sloping demand curve. And if we want to calculate total revenue and average revenue, marginal revenue, here is what we need to do. For total revenue, you multiply price by quantity for each quantity demanded. So 6 by 0 is 0, 5.5 by 1 is 5.5, 5 by 2 is 10, and so on. And after you finish the calculation of total revenue, you take the average at each price level or at each total revenue level, and the average is that you divide total revenue at each total revenue level, you divide by quantity. So 5.5 divided by 1 is 5.5, 10 divided by 2 is 5, and so on. And for marginal revenue, you take the difference in total revenue and divide by difference in quantity level. So new or current total revenue minus the previous total revenue, and you divide by new or current quantity minus the previous level quantity. So this is a new, this is old, this is a new, and this is old. And if you do this, these are the numbers that you get. Now, if you look at the behavior of these numbers, especially the price, because price is going to be the demand curve, and marginal revenue is going to be the marginal revenue curve. Look at the behavior of these numbers. It starts from a high number like 6 and it goes down until 1, which shows that price or the demand curve is downward curve. And also for marginal revenue, it also starts with a high number and then it declines. It declines, but we only take the positive numbers. So if I plot these two important curves, if I plot them, so this is quantity and this is the price, or we can call it monetary unit because we will put price and marginal revenue together. So the price starts from 6, and at 6 the quantity is 0, so this is 0 here. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. These are the numbers 2, 3 until we reach 10. So the demand curve or the price is going to look like this. Starts from 6, then it goes down like this. So this is the demand curve equals price. And if we want to uh, draw the marginal revenue curve, you will note that at each quantity level, the price is going to be higher than the marginal revenue. So, for example, at quantity 3, the price is 4.5. It's 4.5, and marginal revenue is lower. It's here, 3.5. And if we take another marginal revenue level, let us say 1.5 at quantity level 5, so it's about here. And if you connect these dots, you will get this curve tracing all, or let me do it like this, tracing all dots of marginal revenues that are here. And this curve is giving us true representation of data because all dots on the market price curve is greater than marginal revenue. So unlike competitively or perfect competitive market where P equals marginal revenue equals demand, which has flat curve or horizontal curve for demand and marginal revenue, we see here in monopolistic competition that the demand curve is different. It's downward, and the marginal revenue comes beneath it or below it, because this later will help us to determine the maximum or maximizing profit where marginal revenue should equal marginal cost. So this in perfect competition, and this one is in monopolistic competitive market. This slide is just repeats what we have just said regarding the downward sloping curve. And this slide as well repeats what we just explained. Marginal revenue comes below demand curve or price curve, and marginal revenue curve is also downward sloping. Go to the next. Okay, in this slide we have all information about what this firm produce or what this firm produces in terms of quantity of production, the market price or the price it charges, the demand curve this company faces, and information about cost of production, which we can derive from it, the calculation of a marginal cost, average costs like average total cost, and from a revenue side, we calculate marginal revenue, and all this coming in this table. And from this table, we can take or we can draw these curves. So all these curves are coming from the data here, and we already did did the graphical presentation for demand curve and marginal revenue curve. Marginal cost is coming from here, and average total cost is coming from here. And what we want to show in this slide is to know when or at what level this firm can maximize, at what level of production this firm can maximize profits, maximize profits. And we know the rule of or the condition of maximizing profit is when marginal revenue should equal marginal cost. Change the color. So if we look at this curve or this graph, we will find this intersection of marginal revenue and marginal curve. And if we draw a line from the intersection point and chase the demand curve, we will find that this area should be the profit. But this before we talk about the cost. And the cost, we find the presentation of cost as in this graph. So now we put the cost here, and the cost here is the average total cost. So again, at this level where where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, we draw the line to the demand curve. So it's at B. So now we want to determine the level of profit. So we come from B, the point B, and we draw a line until we hit the average total cost. So this area, or this is the level of profit, and this is the area of profit, and the profit is achieved at level of production level 5. So in this situation, this company is making profit in a monopolistic competitive market. Now, if you want to find out when this company is breaking even, which means no profit and no loss at all, and then we go to the situation where the company makes losses. So the break even point can be by just redrawing the graphs. So this is monetary unit, like price, cost, and marginal revenue, marginal costs all come here. And we have this demand curve, and beneath it is the marginal revenue. And this is the marginal cost. And this is where this firm can maximize the profit when marginal cost equals marginal revenue. And I need this intersection. I need to take a line to hit the demand curve. And if I draw average total cost, so when I draw it, it has to, you know, intersect at the minimum of the marginal cost intersects minimum of average total cost. So since this is the cost and then this is the profit, but I want to make it a break even, so I remove this. And then draw average total cost to be tangent to the level where price equals average total cost at this area. So in this case, there is no profit at all because the price here is equal average total cost. So there is no profit at all here. That's why this is break even point where there is no loss and no profit. Now, if I want to show that this company is making losses, I will redraw. This is marginal cost, demand, marginal revenue, and this is the quantity that is used to show the maximization of the profit. This is Q, SP. Same information should be here. So to show losses, all what you need to do is to make the curve of average total cost go above the price. So this is average total cost. And if you take from marginal revenue equals marginal cost, this point, so this is the price now that should maximize profit, but in this situation, or in this case, we have the price is less than the average total cost. So this area now is loss. So here, average total cost is greater than price. So all this area now is the loss. No need here. Okay, for this for this slide, what is happening here is to show that our previous analysis was related to demand curve in the short run, which is this one. So this is demand curve in the short run. So this analysis is in the short run, but this demand curve is going to flatten a little bit. Flatten means it was like this, and then it becomes like this. So if you just focus, this was our demand curve in the short run, which is similar to this one, but in the long run, it flattened a little bit. So why it flattens in the long run? Because the market will have more flexibility and more barriers of entry are going to be relaxed. So this will enable more companies to get in and even more companies to get out. So that's why the curve flattens. And in much far long run, this curve could also go to resemble the demand curve in perfectly competition market. So it flattens, it perfectly flattens. So this is the idea. The more we go in long run, the more the demand curve flattens. But as it flattens, the company could operate in break even, because if it is going to make some profits now, but in the very long run, this company might not make profits. I will do the example here. So I draw, this is monetary unit, marginal revenue, price, marginal cost. This is the quantity. So first I will show that the company is making profits. So this is the demand curve, and this is marginal revenue, and this is the marginal cost, and this is the average total cost. And here, marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So this is the quantity that achieves the highest possible uh, profits. And we'll draw the line that hits demand curve, which is here. So here the price is greater than the average total cost. So this company is making profit here. This is the area of a profit now. And now we want to show in the long run, because this analysis is now in the short run, but now in the long run, we want to show that this company will operate at break even. And you remember that when we said before that when the market, the whole market, including all firms, when they operate at break even point, all of them will make the market to achieve what we called productive efficiency. So now we'll show this curve will flatten because it will operate in the long run. So all what I need to do in PowerPoint, and I take this curve, and also I will take this curve, and this curve and this curve, and I will group them. So I will do it again. I want to take this curve and also this curve and group them. And then I rotate, and I will make them to flatten. So when I make them flatten, as you see, I'll make them flatten, and then because it will operate in the long run, so the curve will flatten. So in long run, and as market demand flattens, we will find that not only this firm, majority or all of the firms working in monopolistic competitive market will operate at this level where price equals average total cost, and this is called break-even point, which achieve for the whole market productive efficiency. Okay, here I want to divide this. So here is the long run, and here is short run. So you notice that demand curve is a bit sharp, and the demand curve is a bit flattened. And here are the situation in the short run where the company makes profits, as you see. So if you take for each one of them, look at the point where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, and then you take line hitting demand curve, and you will find that uh, the cost is covered since price is greater than average total cost. So this means profits. Here it is loss because the price here is less than average total cost. So this is average total cost. Here is also loss because price is less than average total cost. This one here is a profit because the price is greater than average total cost. So now when demand curve flattens, you will find that the demand curve touched average total cost, eliminating all profits. So here price equals average total cost, no profit at this level of production. And also here price equals average total cost, no profits. Go to the next and the next. Here it is the same analysis that we have done. This is the demand in the and marginal cost in the short run, and this is the demand and marginal revenue in the long run. Again, so this is the demand and marginal revenue in the short run, and this is demand and marginal revenue in the long run. And in this curves, on this slide, uh, it again shows that all profits will be eliminated in the long run in case the company doesn't have any new ways to to reduce cost and achieve better wave production and making profits. So here it says that, both monopolistic competition and perfect competition, they will be similar to each other. They share the same fact where they earn no profit and they earn zero profit. Why? Because, the demand curve will get flattened and flattened until it flattens like this, and then it touches the average total cost where there is no profit. So they earn zero profit. So monopolistic competition and perfect competition in the long run will be the same. But there is one fact we need to mention here, that for perfect competition, when price equals demand, and this is average total cost, this is marginal cost. In perfect competition, the demand curve is perfectly flat, but in the long run, because market and monopolistic competitive market, the the firm might not operate at this lower minimum level of average total cost. Why? Because the demand is not going to be 100% uh, flat, as we mentioned before, and I should stress on this again. The the demand curve is going to be something like flat, but be careful because we have also marginal revenue, which is not flat. And when marginal revenue intersects with average total cost here, this is the minimum. But we have also one point before the minimum, which is marginal revenue equals marginal cost. So if we take a line and make this touch, so the firm even doesn't make profit in the long run in monopolistic market, we still have quantity level lower than the minimum average total cost. So this is minimum average total cost where this quantity achieves, like this here. This is the quantity that achieves the productive efficiency, and this is the minimum cost that should achieve productive efficiency in monopolistic market. But the problem is we have this condition which is coming in a queue before the most efficient queue, which is here. So when it touches the average total cost where P equals here, average total cost, this is the queue which is lower than the queue which makes, so this queue is lower than this queue, and this queue that makes the productive efficiency. But this queue doesn't make productive efficiency, although we achieve this condition at this condition, which means we achieve price equals average total cost, but at lower Q than the Q which is achieved by perfect competitive market. This, what I just said, is mentioned here. So in monopolistically competitive firms, or in monopolistic competitive market, firms do not produce at minimum average total costs, this is the minimum average total cost, but they produce level before the minimum average total cost. So this is average total cost, and they produce here, not at the minimum. Okay. Again, this is explained in this slide. And this slide, this is perfect competitive market. And as you see that at minimum average total cost, and marginal cost even equals the marginal revenue and price. So perfect competitive market, they achieve this level of production that secures or achieves the minimum cost of the market. But if we go to the monopolistic competitive market, which is this one, so this is the average total cost, and this is the minimum level of average total cost where production can be produced at this level, which should match this level in perfectly competitive market. But the demand curve in monopolistic competitive market is not perfectly flat in the long run. So when this demand curve touches the average total cost, it touches it here, at which marginal revenue equals marginal cost, which also determines the level of production in a monopolistic market. So this level of production is produced at higher level of cost compared to this minimum cost. And because it is not produced at the minimum level of cost, this means that monopolistic market doesn't achieve the efficiency in the market. Why? Because it produces at level where production is produced at level greater than the minimum level of cost. And therefore, we go to some conclusions in the next slide, which asks this important question: is monopolistic competition inefficient? Yes, it is inefficient. Why? Because it produces at a level less than the level of production that achieves the minimum cost, similar to what happened here. This level is lower than the level of production or level of output that achieves the lower or the minimum cost. Therefore, monopolistic competition doesn't guarantee productive nor allocative efficiency in the market. But the only thing that makes monopolistic competition better than perfectly competitive market is that it gives the consumer some choices, because the products offered in monopolistic competition are not identical. So it could match to certain level some of their tastes. But for sure, perfectly competitive market is better than monopolistic market, because perfect competitive market achieves both allocative and productive efficiency. But in monopolistic competition, this market of monopolistic competition doesn't achieve productive and allocative efficiency as we explained here. So monopolistic competition, as we said, they differentiate, they produce products where it is different than other firms' products, so they are not perfectly identical, and for this reason, firms in monopolistic competition, they survive and continue in the market because they use some strategies so they can do marketing of their products and they use some brands and they can advertise. So they advertise because they can cover some costs by making more profits, and they also can defend their brand name because they can get license of their trademark name, which again make their products differentiated from other firms in the market. So no other firms can imitate or copy their products because it is legally protected. By that, we are at the end of this chapter. Thank you.